Whoa! The year has come to an end. So that means it's time to reminisce and think about what my top favorite and top worst recipes have been for the whole year. Well, we're going to start with the real stinkers. The worst recipes of the year. My 5th worst recipe is this stinker. And our first recipe sure sounds like a perfect one. Why? Because it's perfection salad. Well, when I read the ingredients, I almost vomited in my mouth, but we're gonna see how it tastes. This perfection salad is gonna start with some lemon jello that we make according to directions. Mix in a cup of boiling water and some cold water with a tablespoon of lemon juice. I'm just gonna chill it until it's slightly thickened. Okay, the jello has started to set, so that means it's time to add more items. What will it be? Marshmallows? Chocolate? What's gonna make this recipe perfection? Half a cup of shredded cabbage. Half a cup of chopped celery. A tablespoon of pimentos. And finally, a tablespoon of relish. I'm mixing it up. I do not lie. This is a real recipe. I'm going to pour these into a couple bowls for serving. But first I need to chill it until it's firm. Would you look at that? All done. It says it's best served with some mayonnaise. Hooray! Perfection salad. You know, I have seen this recipe before, but it didn't involve lemon jello. It mainly just involved gelatin and the cabbage, and it had carrots and olives in it. I think this one might be a little bit better than that, but let's find out. It is gelatinous. It's crunchy. It's not horrible. I tasted that pickly relish first, and now I'm tasting lemon with a crunch of cabbage. But it's pickly, lemony. It's not the worst thing I've ever eaten. I'm going to give it a 3.1 out of 10. I downloaded a colander app instead of a calendar, and now my battery keeps draining. Time for the 4th stinker of a recipe. Well, hello there, and happy President's Day. Well, we are going to try something very unique that hailed from George Washington. And it was something that was actually made in Mount Vernon, and something that Martha Washington would enjoy. It is a lettuce tart. It's a dessert. It's a pie made out of lettuce. I can't fathom the idea, but of course this is Jim's Kitchen, and we're gonna try it. It comes from this cookbook, the President's Cookbook, full of many recipes from many presidents. I'm starting with a prepared pie shell that I pre-baked. I'm dotting it with bits of butter. The recipe does not give any directions, any measurements. It just says sprinkle on some sugar, cinnamon, and some ginger. Next, we need to bring some water to a boil in a pot and add some salt. Okay, now comes the lettuce. It asks for romaine lettuce right in your water. As well as, no lie, prunes. We're gonna add those in and cook until tender. Well, you need to drain that soggy lettuce and then add it to that pie. Wow, that looks exciting. Are you salivating yet? Well, you get to sprinkle that with some more sugar and some cinnamon. They did say it's optional, and you could at this point add some bone marrow. Well, I didn't have any handy. They said it's just as good without the marrow. Well, I'm gonna cover it up. It says to bake it at 400 for about a half an hour. Well, there it is. Let's give it a try. A lettuce tart. Make sure I get lettuce and prune and the tart part. Let's give it a try. The lettuce texture is definitely throwing me off. You definitely notice a nice sweetness there. Not a sick sweetness. Like I love the cinnamon in there. The lettuce just feels wrong. So what am I gonna score this out of 10? I'm gonna give it a 2.3. It's fun learning about historical foods. Thanks, Martha Washington. What do you call a bee that can't make up its mind? A maybe. This third horrible recipe makes me sick to my stomach. Today it's time for a retro recipe time because I'm making things that involve Kool-Aid. I had this exciting Kool-Aid brochure. It's a brochure cookbook called Kool-Aid Comes of Age. So I thought I'd try some recipes. And I happen to have all these Kool-Aid packets. So I thought it was a great way to utilize them. We're gonna start by making a Kool-Aid chicken salad. You heard that right. Kool-Aid chicken salad. Let's try it. I'm gonna start by cutting a celery stick and some grapes and add it to a bowl with a can of crushed pineapple, some cooked chopped chicken, 3/4 cup of mayonnaise, and some Kool-Aid packet. I'm using the peach mango this time. And mix it together, and we have ourselves a Kool-Aid chicken salad. It kind of has the look of upchuck, but how does it taste? It's a very big acidity that hits your mouth right away. It's not a great taste with the mayonnaise. I mean, the grapes are really nice. I like the grapes kind of save it a bit. But it's not the best chicken salad I've ever had. I'm gonna give it a 2.3 out of 10. What kind of weather do cupcakes like? Sprinkles. I made the second recipe last month, and I did not like it. Mystery pumpkin pie. The mystery is it contains no pumpkin. Instead, it contains 2 cans of white beans drained in a food processor. That's right, I said beans. 1/2 cup of evaporated milk. 3 eggs, 3/4 cup brown sugar, 1/4 cup of melted butter, pinch of salt, and a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice. Let's blend that up. Pour that into your shell and bake it at 350 for 55 minutes. Here we go. Look at that color. Just like pumpkin pie. Mystery pumpkin pie. It ain't no mystery. This is not pumpkin pie. How does it taste? It's definitely beans. It's a right when you put it in your mouth, you're like, this is beans. with a hint of pumpkin spice at the end. I'm not a fan of bean pie. I'm going to give it a 2.1 out of 10. Pie. And the absolute worst recipe was a vintage recipe. It was this one. Well, you picked shredded wheat. And I'm going to be using this shredded wheat to make the most unusual bake that I've never seen before. A shredded wheat bake. You've got to see this. Grab a baking dish. These are the big biscuit ones. I'll be adding 6 to the bottom of this dish. I'm spreading on a 1/3 cup of melted butter on top of those shredded wheat. And I'm placing on 6 pieces of Canadian bacon. This is just the beginning of this unusual dish. I'm going to be putting this in a 375-degree oven for 10 minutes. While that's cooking, grab a pan. I need a can of pineapple tidbits, 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a cup of orange juice. So unusual. I'm going to heat this up until it thickens and comes to a boil. Place those hammy wheats on a plate and spoon that sauce on top. Wow! Shredded wheat bake. This is an actual vintage recipe. It's crunchy, meaty, and fruity. Not sure how I feel about all that acidity in there. Unique flavor. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. Why are tightrope walkers so healthy? They always eat a balanced diet. Thanks to shredded wheat. We're done with all the nasty recipes. Now it's time to think about what were those great recipes that I loved so much this year. Well, these are the top 6 because for 5th place, it's a 2-way tie. Here's the 5th place. Well, today I am going to be making orange chicken and waffles. So it's basically chicken and waffles mashed with orange chicken. This will be exciting. Let's do it. Let's make our orange sauce. Grab a small bowl. 3/4 cup of orange juice I'm using freshly squeezed. 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. 3 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce. 1.5 tablespoons of rice vinegar. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 cloves of minced garlic, 1/2 tablespoon of ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, some red pepper flakes, and a little orange zest. Whisk that together. I'm going to pour this in a pan and start heating it up. For the waffles, I'm using a cup of Bisquick, a 1/2 cup of milk, 2 eggs, a tablespoon of vegetable oil, and a tablespoon of sesame oil, a teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice, and a 1/4 cup of scallions. That's our waffle mix. Let's start our waffles. They smell great. I've cooked up some chicken strips according to directions, and I'm going to be adding them to that thickening orange sauce and rolling them around. All right, and let's place that chicken on top of those waffles. Yum. Orange chicken and waffles. I think this is a Jim's Kitchen original. Let's try it. Whoa. The orange chicken sauce is great. And the flavors in those waffles, absolutely perfect. It is a wonderful Chinese New Year meal. If I gave this a number out of 10, I'd give it an 8.7. What do you get if you cross a chicken with a snake? A feather boa. That was a good one. And now for joint 5th place, we have this one. Have you ever heard of Pizza Hut Cavatini? I think it was called Pizza Hut Cavatini Supreme. Well, it was a special pasta dish that you would find in most Pizza Huts back in the day. Back in the day, they also used to have a Pizza Hut buffet where you would go and it was full of pizza and full of pasta, and Cavatini was one of those pastas. And a subscriber of mine said, please make this Cavatini. I really want to see the recipe. And you know what? I'm doing it right now. This pasta dish is wild because it contains 3 types of pasta. A 1/4 pound of rotini, a 1/4 pound of shells, and a 1/4 pound of these. Remember? Wagon wheels. I haven't seen them in forever, and they're hard to come by, but they are around. Drain it. In a pan, we need to cook up an onion and a sliced green pepper. It also calls for cooking 2 types of meat, a 1/2 pound of Italian sausage and a 1/2 pound of ground beef. Add a jar of your favorite pasta sauce. Now you need a 9x13 baking dish. We're gonna do some layering. 1/3 of that pasta, 1/3 of that sauce. You need a bag of pepperoni. Let's add a layer. 1/3 of a bag of mozzarella cheese. 1/3 of a bag of Parmesan cheese. And we're gonna repeat those layers 2 more times. And finish with the last of that Parmesan. Wow, it's so heavy, but it looks great. We're gonna bake it at 350 for about 40 minutes. Wow, it looks pretty amazing. Pizza Hut Cavatini. I love how meaty it is. I love the different feelings of the different noodles in your mouth. And it has a lot of cheese. I'm sold. Very nostalgic dish. And it's magnificent. I'm going to give it an 8.7 out of 10. What did Obi-Wan say to Luke when he was having trouble eating at a Chinese restaurant? Luke, use the fork. Great memories. Now for 4th place, it's a recent one I made last month. It's this. This year, I'm going to be making a tikka masala nacho. They're actually called nachos because instead of tortillas, they use naan bread. Let's get started. I'm going to start by cutting that naan bread into chip-size pieces. I'm just going to throw these in the oven at 400 degrees and toast them for a few minutes. Time to make the tikka masala sauce. Grab a pan. Melt 2 tablespoons of butter with a chopped white onion. Once softened, we're going to add a small can of either diced jalapenos or diced green chilies. And we need about 1 pound of cooked shredded chicken. A tablespoon of garlic. Time to add a can of crushed tomatoes. And 1/2 can of coconut milk. A teaspoon of ginger. And a tablespoon of garam masala. Let's stir it together, and then we're going to reduce the heat to low and let it simmer. Let's start layering with 1/2 of those naan chips, 1/2 of that chicken tikka masala, half a bag of Monterey Jack cheese, the rest of those chips, the rest of that sauce, and of course the rest of that cheese. And this is just going to go back in the oven for a few minutes until the cheese is melted. On top, I'm going to dollop on some chutney. This is the mango chutney. Yummy. I'm ready to dig in. Chicken tikka masala nachos. It just smells so good. How does it taste? Whoa. Love that flavor and digging those bready nachos. It is a divine nacho. I think I'm going to give it an 8.8 out of 10. It's a good nacho. Happy Nacho Day. What do nachos do at the gym? Crunches. For third place, we have this amazing breakfast recipe. Are you a fan of a breakfast Crunch Wrap Supreme, that special handheld Taco Bell dish? Well, we're gonna turn it into a casserole. Let's try it out. I need to start by cooking up some breakfast sausage. This is 1 pound of sausage. Get it brown and crispy. Now it's time to prepare some eggs. I'm making a smaller portion of this. You'll see the actual ingredients list in the description of my recipe. I'll add some creamer and some pepper. Give it a good whisk. I'm just going to use that sausage pan to cook those eggs. I'm just going to cook these eggs, stirring constantly until soft scrambled. Like this. In another bowl, I'm going to need about 2/3 cup of sour cream, 1/3 cup of salsa, and I'm adding a small can of diced green chilies. Stir that together, and this will become our special sauce. You need a glass baking dish, and then you need to butter the sides and bottom. I'm going to be layering a few tortillas into that dish. Make sure they overlap on the bottom. Let's start with a little cheese. Then comes that cooked sausage. And add those eggs. I'm going to add on half of that sauce mixture. Add a little more cheese. I cooked up some hash brown patties until nice and crispy. And place them on top. And finish off with some more cheese. This is the glue that binds it all together. I'm going to put a new tortilla on top and kind of tuck it in a bit. Fold those edges over. I'm going to be brushing the whole top with butter and pressing it down to allow it to stick together. This will become the bottom, so it's okay if it's a little uneven. I'm going to cook it at 375 for 25 to 30 minutes. And now it's time to flip it over onto a tray. Okay, there it is. Nice and crispy. There it is, Breakfast Crunch Wrap Supreme. And top with some of that sauce. Crunch Wrap Breakfast Casserole. Doesn't that look awesome? How does it taste? It tastes incredible. I think I'm gonna give it an 8.9 out of 10. Why does a chicken coop have 2 doors? Because if it had 4 doors, it would be a chicken sedan. I've been having lots of wonderful dreams about this second place meal. I am super blessed because you're in my kitchen. I'm going to be making something great today. I'm going to make a bulgogi cheesesteak. I went to a food cart and had a bulgogi cheesesteak. It was like the greatest thing I ever had. So I thought, I need to make this at home. Let's do it. I need a couple tablespoons of butter, And now it's time to saute a chopped onion. Grab a bowl. Let's make a bulgogi sauce. Tablespoon of garlic. Half a cup of soy sauce. 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Tablespoon of gochujang sauce. 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. And a shake of black pepper. Give it a good mix. To those onions, I'll be adding a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar and tossing it to coat. I got some shaved beef that I'll be cooking in with those onions. Get it nice and brown. Time to add that bulgogi sauce. Now I'm going to toast some hoagie rolls with some provolone cheese on top. Order up! Bulgogi cheesesteak. I couldn't be more excited. Here we go. That is some flavorful meat. I love it. I'll give it a 9.1 out of 10. That's a good cheesesteak. I'm kind of nervous about signing up for my company's 401k. I've never run that far before. And our #1 recipe was so surprising and so delicious. Here it is, #1. Welcome to Jim's Kitchen, and I'm ready to try some recipes in a cookbook from 1986. It's called Make a Meal Salads from Better Homes and Gardens. What makes this a special cookbook is that salads are not a side dish. These are all meal salad. Now the salad party is gonna continue. I'm gonna be making a very fun sounding salad. I'm making a deep dish salad pizza. This sounds fun. I need to prepare a glass baking dish. I have a refrigerator pizza crust that I'll be putting into that baking dish. I'm gonna bake this at 375 for about 15 minutes. In a bowl, I need 8 ounces of cream cheese. I'm using the whipped. And a 1/3 cup of Italian dressing. And I'm gonna mix it until smooth. Grab another bowl. I need 4 cups of torn up spinach leaves. 3 cups of sliced mushrooms. 2 cups of chopped cooked chicken. A can of drained olives. Some crumbled bacon pieces. Some pickled red onions. Give it a good toss. To that crust, I'm going to be adding 2 cups of Italian-style cheese. This will go back in the oven and cook for another 5 minutes. While that's baking again, let's add this dressing and toss it all together. Time to add that salad mixture. Wow, this is fun. It's time to add another cup of cheese. And then we're gonna bake it yet again for an additional 5 minutes. This has got to be the nicest looking salad I've ever seen. Deep dish salad pizza. Oh, yes. Whoa. This is a heavenly salad, and the flavors are amazing. You're not gonna believe it. It's gonna get a high score. I'm gonna give this salad a 9.2 out of 10. It's a winner. I saw 2 worms that were very much in love. They were soil mates. I am so delighted to have gotten to celebrate with you. It has been a lot of fun this year. And guess what? I'm not done. This year I'll be making a lot more things, yucky things, and delicious. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I think you are awesome. Why did the man sprinkle sugar all over his pillow on New Year's Eve? Because he wanted to start the new year with sweet dreams.